Here are all the mystery novel motives that we're going to talk about today. And here are the 4 basic human desires that fuel all of them. Today, we're going to get into these 4 primal drives that make people kill. We're going to discuss different ways you can approach each of them when you're constructing your mystery plot. And we're going to talk about how to obscure the villain's motive so that it comes as a big surprise to the reader. Hi, I'm Jane, and today I'm launching a new series on how to write a cozy mystery from start to finish. And I'm so excited about it, okay? It's going to be great. And today we are dealing with motive, how to construct a motive for your murder mystery. Now, when I'm writing a mystery, my guiding principle is that I don't want to write a whodunit. I want to write a whydunit. I want to come up with a motive that's going to really take my reader by surprise and make them feel like I've kept them guessing to the end. Okay, but I've got a problem because in real life there are only 4 motives that are behind almost all murders, and those are money, love, power, and fear. Yeah, that's pretty much it. There are a few other motives out there perhaps, but they're edge cases, like mercy killers who kill out of a desire to prevent suffering. But mostly what we're dealing with in murders is going to be money, love, power, and fear. These cover almost everything that happens in real life. So how are we going to take these 4 motives and stretch one of them out into something surprising? Well, we're going to start by asking, how can we view these 4 primal motives from a few different angles? First up, money. We all want it, we all need it, and at some point in time, probably all of us have done something bad to get it, even if it's something small. Money is at the heart of a lot of mysteries, and even when our primary motive is something else, love, power, or fear, there's often a financial component as well. So we're going to park ourselves right here for a minute and ask, what different kinds of plots can revolve around the desire for money? When I think of money crimes and mysteries, I think first of inheritance crimes. Many mysteries involve crimes related to inheritance. For example, one could kill off elderly family members so that their assets can be dispersed. One can kill a spouse so that you can inherit all of the marital assets and avoid a costly divorce, or killing someone to prevent them from changing their will. In fact, sometimes one heir will kill additional heirs so that all the assets will pass directly to them. After inheritance, we can consider organized crime. So when you hear that phrase, you probably think, as I do, of a large syndicate, but that's not our only option. A criminal organization can be as small as a trio of cat burglars or a pair of con men. They can kill to advance their primary goal, gaining money, or they can have a falling out, meaning that one of them will wind up dead. Another kind of money crime happens when people kill to advance their professional goals. They could kill the owner of a rival business so their own company can rise to the top. They could kill a business partner who just won't do things their way. Perhaps they have a less than savory plan to advance the business goals and the partner just won't break the rules. They could kill an angry employee or client to keep them from damaging the business's reputation. And then there are investment crimes. Okay, crimes related to getting a big life insurance payout are investment crimes, but there are also crimes related to other more ordinary stocks. People could kill to keep news from getting out that might tank the stock prices, or perhaps to force a sale of stock. If the CEO is murdered, a lot of stock may be liquidated, which could provide opportunities for our killer. And lastly, under money murders, we could talk about MacGuffin murders. Okay, MacGuffin is a term used in plotting to refer to a unique item that characters are seeking. And so these are murders where a killer is trying to obtain a particular item of great value. A famous painting, a map to a buried treasure, maybe a famous painting that is a map to a buried treasure, a falcon from Malta, you name it. The item of value is the MacGuffin, and the killer may need to murder the person who already has it or kill to get information about its whereabouts. Now keep in mind that the goal behind a money murder may not actually be to gain money, it may be to prevent a loss. So if our villain kills to prevent his small company from being taken over by a big conglomerate, well, he hasn't actually gained anything, but he's prevented a loss, and that's a money murder. The same is going to be true of love and power. The killer may be trying to hold on to what he has rather than acquire something new. Thumbs up if you're liking this video so far, and then let's talk about love. So what we talk about when we talk about love is going to be the whole business of pairing up. Love, lust, any desire to be with a particular romantic partner. The classic love murder that I think of when it comes to mysteries is this: Two people are in love, but someone is preventing them from being together. One or both of them decides to kill this person, whether that's the man's wife, the woman's controlling mother, or someone else. In Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, one of the characters kills her boyfriend's nephew. So the boyfriend wanted to marry her but doesn't have enough cash. With the nephew out of the way, he stands to inherit the family estate, thus clearing the way for their marriage. There's a strong financial component to this crime, but the ultimate goal is love. Another way a love murder could play out is by killing a romantic rival. A woman can't catch a man's eye, so she decides to murder his wife or someone else competing for his affections. Or perhaps a man notices that his wife has begun an affair, and he decides to kill her lover to cut off that threat to their marriage. And lastly, love can become dangerous if it's frustrated. A spurned lover or a suitor who just can't get the attention of his beloved might just get mad enough to kill her. So that man we just talked about who noticed that his wife was having an affair, well, if he decides to kill her instead of the lover, we're still going to call that a love murder. Although it does begin to sound very creepy when you say it that way, which I guess it should. All right, let's talk about power murders. People can kill to gain professional power or political power. Now, here I would usually be thinking of major political power, like killing to gain a congressional position, something like that. But people can also kill to gain smaller amounts of political power. I can easily imagine a mystery about a woman who kills so she can retain her seat on her neighborhood's homeowners association board. Basically, all of us want to exert our will over whatever world we care most about. Most of us aren't willing to kill for it, but some of us are. People can also kill because of the power dynamic in a family. A woman might decide to eliminate her demanding mother-in-law, or a man might decide to eliminate a sibling who seems to be his parents' favorite and always gets to call the family shots. In Psycho, the first murder committed by Norman Bates was that of his controlling mother, whose identity he then assumed. That's a power murder, if I ever saw one. But when I think of the way that power murders most often play out in mysteries, I'm mostly thinking of revenge. Long ago, our victim held power over our killer in some way and hurt them badly. So now, our killer is enacting a little payback, and by doing so, feels that they've regained power. Revenge murders are great plots and mysteries, and often very fun because they require us to dig into the past of both murderer and victim and take our reader on a merry chase through the characters' histories. All right, money, love, power. Now let's talk about fear. Well, first, a killer can certainly kill someone who presents a chronic physical threat to them, such as an abusive spouse or parent. They can also kill someone who is repeatedly victimizing them, such as a school bully or a professional criminal who's always shaking them down. But when I think of the fear murder in mysteries, I'm often thinking of the fear of exposure. Many mystery villains kill in order to keep their dark deeds a secret, and we're going to talk about these murders a little bit more later because they provide great grist for mystery plots. So we've got lots of ideas for motives, but let's talk about some ways to occlude that motive, to take a step back from it, wrap it all up in another layer of enigma that your sleuth is going to have to work her way through. First, let's talk about murder on the behalf of another. Any of these motives, money, love, power, relief from fear, can be pursued for the sake of another character. If your villain loves someone enough, say if he's her son, well, then she can absolutely kill to improve his financial situation, to eliminate an obstacle so that he can marry the girl of his dreams, to help him achieve a position of power, or to rescue him from danger. Now, when it comes to love murders, well, there's really only one person who's going to care about you that much. That is your parent. There's just something about those self-sacrificial parental bonds that makes love murders on behalf of another character actually work. When it comes to money murders and power murders, we're going to cast our net a little wider to include spouses. And that's partly because, well, when you gain money or power, your spouse generally gains right along with you. And when we're dealing with fear murders or power murders specifically in the form of revenge, well, these can be done by anyone who's emotionally close to the third party. You can easily imagine a villain killing someone because they feared a potential fate hanging over their parent, their sister, their very close friend. Let's talk about murder as a means to an end. So we've already established that our killer's ultimate motive is going to be money, love, power, or delivery from fear. But what if the murder is only one step along the way to that goal? So remember that when a person dies, all sorts of people in their life are going to spring into predictable action, and those actions may be just what your killer needs to pursue his true goal. So in that case, the murderer's plan might look something like this. Murder, predictable action, goal. For example, when a person dies, relatives will gather for the funeral. All sorts of people are going to be coming into town, people who previously might have been inaccessible to the killer because they lived far away. So maybe what he actually wants is to kill one of these relatives who has been blackmailing him from afar. In that case, his plan would look like this. Murder, true victim arrives in town, murder of true victim, money and relief from fear in the form of being free of that blackmail. Another predictable effect of death is that those closest to the deceased are going to become distraught. So maybe our killer's true motive is to sabotage another character's judgment by killing someone the character loved dearly. In an episode of Monk called Mr. Monk Goes to the Ball Game, our killer's true motive was to prevent a baseball player from breaking a home run record. So our killer owned the record-breaking ball from the previous record, but if it's broken, his ball is going to be devalued. He tried to kill the baseball player, but that guy was too tough, so instead he killed the player's girlfriend, reasoning that the player would never be able to stick to his hitting streak while distraught over his death. And his plan looks like this. Murder of girlfriend, player becomes distraught, goal of money achieved in the form of the ball retaining its value. Other predictable effects of death include the lawyer will disclose the contents of the will, police will arrive and begin to investigate, possessions will begin to be dispersed, the victim's house becomes empty, and people begin to take actions the victim would have disapproved of while he was alive. And any of these can be the thing our killer needs for his goal to be achieved. So maybe he wants the victim's house to be empty so that he can search it for a hidden fortune. Maybe he wants the victim's secrets to be exposed when the will is read. All right, let's talk about murder as a frame. So one of the predictable things that happens after a murder is that likely suspects will be investigated. If our killer has taken pains to make sure that another person looks awfully guilty, well, then we've got a frame murder on our hands. And the plan for the frame murder would look something like this. Murder takes place, the patsy is arrested, and patsy is my term for someone who's being framed. The goal is achieved. Maybe our killer's ultimate goal is to take the patsy's job, but for some reason he doesn't want to kill her. Maybe she's too difficult. Maybe his motive for killing the patsy is just too obvious and he doesn't think he can get away with it. Or maybe what he actually needs is for both the victim and the patsy to be out of the way. Framing one for the murder of the other will let him take out two birds with one stone. But the plan can still require more steps. So let's think about the predictable actions that take place after someone is arrested for murder. They're absent from their home. They are unable to meet any obligations or engagements that they had. They are publicly discredited. They'll hire a lawyer. Friends and family will either rally around the patsy or will pull away depending on their relationships and on how airtight the frame looks. So our murderer's plan could actually look something like this. Murder, patsy arrested, predictable action, goal. So let's say our killer is up on charges for running a small drug smuggling operation, and the patsy is slated to testify against him in his upcoming trial. Well, he could kill the patsy, but then he'd still be the most obvious suspect. It wouldn't do much to actually make the cops think that he was innocent. They'd still remember and believe exactly what the patsy originally told them. So he instead decides to kill another person, maybe someone involved in the drug smuggling operation. He frames the patsy and stages the crime to look like a falling out between illicit business partners. Now it's beginning to look to the police as though the patsy's testimony was false. He was the actual drug runner and only fingered our killer to save himself from suspicion. Our murderer's plan looks something like this. Murder the victim and frame the patsy. Patsy arrested. Patsy discredited. Relief from fear in the form of freedom from conviction for his drug crimes. All right, what about unpremeditated murder? This is another way that we can occlude our killer's motive by imagining that the murder wasn't part of the plan at all. Let's say our killer's plan was a very straightforward theft of a famous painting, and here's what it looks like. Theft of painting, goal of money achieved. However, he was interrupted by someone, and so now he has to tack on an additional plan, which is kill witness, relief from fear achieved. The murder of the witness might take place in the heat of the moment while the painting is actually being stolen. Maybe the victim surprises him and he panics and kills her. It might take place years later, perhaps after the witness has been blackmailing our thief for years. But in order to understand the murder, your sleuth is going to have to pick apart both plans. This can be particularly puzzling when there's been a big lag time between the plans. Your sleuth is going to have to dig far into the past, and that's going to provide a nice deep search for your reader to get engaged in. Let's take a minute to consider the word whodunit. So this word comes from Blake Snyder's book, Save the Cat. It's his name for the mystery genre, and to me, it's the perfect name for the genre for two different reasons. So when I first read the book as a young writer, I took the word whodunit to mean that the motive for the crime should come as a surprise to the reader. And I think that's always a good idea. Let's say you've got a mystery novel with a pool of 6 suspects. Each of them has a very clear motive. You write your way to the big drawing room scene, and then your sleuth yells, "It was that guy." He points at one of the suspects, that man is arrested, and it all wraps up. But it feels a little dull. It's kind of like putting the last piece into a jigsaw puzzle. It ties everything together, but the picture hasn't changed. On the other hand, introducing a new motive at this point, or learning that an existing motive applies to an unexpected character, well, that can feel a lot more like the moment when you finally see the trick behind one of those classic optical illusions, like this one. You thought you were looking at a picture of Candlestick, but now you can see that there are 2 faces. It's a very satisfying experience for the mystery reader, and it's one that I try to deliver. However, there's another way that we can look at the word whodunit. This is the meaning I think Snyder actually had when he read the book, and that's as an acknowledgement that the mystery genre is fundamentally about probing the darkest reaches of the human heart. Why do we do bad things? Why do people sometimes kill? In this video, I hope that I've helped you address both sides of that coin, finding a way to make the motive surprising while also making it rooted in those real dark places of human psychology. My next few videos in this series are going to be on creating suspects, creating clues, and plot twists. So if you don't want to miss those, subscribe and ring the bell for notifications because we are going to have a lot of fun. Check out.